Hello YouTube, Nathan Dewey here doing a how-to on how I assemble my Balisongs. A while back somebody had asked me to do an updated video on my process, so I decided, since I have my latest batch of gremlins almost finished, I decided to turn on the camera and show you guys. Now these two are pretty much done. I still have to sharpen them and apply Loctite, but this is the basic finished product. This is a one-off carbon fiber 1/8 inch stock scale version. This is the thinnest of the 6. This batch is a 440C unsharpened swedge. Again, 1/8 inch stock scales. The stock that I ground this from was a very rough 440C stock. It was probably 0.140 thickness, so this is about down to 1/8 of an inch, or 0.125. This one has the 3/16 inch handle scales. This is a 1/2 OD, the other half black. Again, 440C blade, unsharpened swedge, stainless steel pocket clip. It's a real toss-up between which of these two I like better. And this one, as well as these three are not finished. These will still have to be taken apart for one last buffing and fitting, I guess. These are 1/4 inch thick scales, JG10, and this one is a layered black and OD. So alright, let's put this together. Let me show you my process. Alright, I just finished buffing the pieces here so they're nice and clean. So first take a little pivot here, feed it through the opposite end. You know, you have the presentation side and then the opposite side. This is the presentation side, so this would be the opposite. Goes in that direction. Take the washers. I'm using, for each side of the blade, I'm using 2 of these .010 inch thick, so total of .020 thickness for each side. Sometimes with USA Knife Maker, these washers, some have tighter holes than others. It's going to have to be forced in. I know for a fact that they fit, so they're just going to need a little finesse. Okay. For the pivots on these, I am using Century Solutions High Slip Grease. If it's a knife that I can completely take apart like this, then I will use this type of grease for the pivot. If it's a knife that I can't take apart, I will probably drop in Hop's gun oil. Okay. For little dots, blade. There you go. Okay. Again, take the oil, the grease. 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have to be perfect because when the washers are put on, it'll kind of smooth itself out. Gonna evenly distributed. There's always a little bit of extra that you'll have to wipe out, so just 4 little dabs is good enough. A little goes a long way with this stuff. Take the presentation side. Man, I picked the really tight washers to do this. The washers on these were perfectly fine. They did no problem going in. Sometimes if it's a little bit of a tight fit, what you can do is just take the screw and then screw it in a little bit. Make sure everything's lined up, of course. And see, okay, now the pivot is starting to go all the way in through. There you go. There you go. Perfect. Loosen it a little bit because now you got to fit in the spacer. This is the spacer for the safe handle. Okay. 2 screws that feed through here, past the spigot, past the spacer, and the little thread into the opposite handle slab. Loosen up the pivot a little more, just so I'm not fighting the screws here. Kind of pressing it. Hang on. Make sure it's lined up. Okay, good. There's you want to make sure there's no space. There's no space between here and here. You don't want the screws to skip a thread, because that'll cause it to strip. And there you go, just kind of finger tight. You don't need to hangman it. Okay. Tighten the screw back up to pivot just so it's not flopping around for safety. Now the other side. Now first I'm going to thread the screws in through the actual pocket clip. And this camera will probably shut off automatically at 10 minutes, so I'm just going to do a part 2. Stay tuned.